This is the Scrum Feed, where Paul Dalligan and I take apart what's happening in the NRL. And this week, shocking news with Rabbitohs Jai Arrow diagnosed with MND last week, and his immediate retirement has been announced. 178 games with the Broncos, Titans and the Bunnies since 2021. Terrible thing, Paul.
Just very sad, I'd say, and it's just brings into perspective, especially with the loss of Neil Danaher as well this week, that life is so short. And Wayne Bennett and also the South's chairman or CEO, a very, very touching tribute. And you could see that it's already advanced in Jai's case. So it's not me as a Rabbitohs fan or you as a rugby league fan. It's us as people, and it goes beyond rugby league. There's been a few losses in rugby league. The Carl Webb, couple of years back, Rob Barrow, the former England halfback as well. I did look into it. There is no conclusive evidence or proof that concussions lead to MND. Not that we're going to go there, but I don't know if it's football related. It is a tragedy no matter what the cause, and it's just very sad. I think the positive that came out of Neil Danaher's diagnosis is all the awareness brought to the cause, and there is a push for the NRL to adopt an MND round, which would be a nice touch, much like the AFL. If they can do that, that would be quite a nice, touching recognition of the disorder.
Yes, Paul. Probably what makes it more shocking is he's only a young man, and sporting people are always, as we feel, healthy.
That's right. And it comes as just a big shock that they're human, I guess, in some ways. It's not something you'd expect at that age, and it's just a real tragedy. There have been issues with him all year, and all credit to the team. They kept it quiet in order to respect his condition and where he was at, but you can see that it's already affecting his speech. So it's really sad.
Andrew Abdo, 6 years with the NRL, but no more, gone for greener pastures and will be the new CEO of Tennis Australia. NRL's loss, Tennis Australia's gain, Paul?
Well, a big loss for the NRL. He has been described as the best CEO they've ever had. Peter V'landys is a tough taskmaster, but as we know, he's quite a trailblazer. I think they were effectively a good cop, bad cop type scenario. Peter was the ideas man and Andrew was the one making it happen, which would have brought its own challenges. But I don't know if you heard, you got a cerebral puns excuse from Pat Cash as to whether a rugby league executive would stop tennis from going to die, I quote. So have some of those apples. I don't think Pat Cash has been on the front foot that much since he jumped in the stands to hug his coach and whoever else was up there. But certainly not a welcome to tennis family from Pat Cash.
Well, no doubt Abdo leaves the game in a lot better position, Paul. Papua New Guinea and Perth coming in as teams over the next 2 years. You've got the annual Las Vegas fixture. You've got the premiership match in London next season. So all these things have come in since he was the CEO.
The only thing he didn't do is help Peter V'landys tie a proper knot on his tie. No, all jokes aside, he certainly has been the best there, and I have heard that he's staying around to negotiate the TV rights, which will be a record. They'll be monster rights, given the way the game is going. I think there's an expression leaving the game in rude health, so we'll go with that. But I wish him all the best. He's going for a job with more money and less stress. And I think that's a no-brainer.
Let's have a look at our weekly red line candidates, Paul. I think we agree the Dragons are gone, the Titans are gone, and the Eels are gone. Another loss for the Storm. In 15th position, are they yet gone?
No, they're not. And I would like to check the tape. You had the red pen out. You might have to go to Officeworks and get an eraser, Professor, because I think you waved it around last week again on the Dolphins, and I think they could finish top 4. So I'm just urging you to use a bit of caution with that red pen that you wave around like Harry Potter. I think the only ones we can have it through are the Dragons, the Titans and the Eels. The Raiders, if they lose this week against the Cowboys, are getting towards what I'd call pink pen territory, but certainly not red pen with the talent in that team of the Raiders.
All right, well, with the Broncos where they're positioned at the moment, and they always don't do very well during State of Origin period, is there a pink pen coming for them?
No, because they've only got 2 players in the Origin team, believe it or not. That's actually a compliment and a bit of an insult, I guess, to the playing roster, but they've only got 2 in Origin. They're actually, their squad, touch of irony, will be better because they're not going to be affected. So I think the Broncos have got plenty of wins in them left, with an angry Reece Walsh at the back as well, given he was passed over for Origin. So I don't have any concerns about the Broncos at all.
Let's review round 12, Paul. There were 7 teams on the bye, so not much to talk about. Seems like a long time ago now, but the Raiders 22 went down to the Dolphins 30. Jermaine Asako scored 14 points, 500 metres outgained the Raiders. 4 more line breaks for the Dolphins. They're starting to come together at the right time.
They are, and I will say they were my tip to win the premiership, so I'm not throwing that one out yet. That'll be one of my better ever tips if that gets up. But I can see them making the top four, the Dolphins, the way they're playing. I think it's more a case of a hot Dolphins than a bad Raiders team. I just predicted this. I think Dolphins are on a run. They're going to win 80% of their matches. I think I called from here on in. So I still have faith in the Raiders, but it was a big win for the Dolphins. And then the next game, of course, one you would have enjoyed, Professor, despite living in Melbourne, to see your Dogs beat the Storm. It was a very impressive performance. My Dogs mates I've spoken to about it, they said we only beat the Storm, missing the top players, but you can only beat who's in front of you, and it was a very impressive effort from the Dogs. No coincidence that Gus Gould was on the mouth during the week, questioning whether Garvin's the long-term seven, also questioning Burton's place in the team, and the Dogs came out. Both those two players played well in that one.
Did some checking of results for the first part of the season, Paul. The Storm led at half-time again in this game. Do you realise that the Storm would be on top if the games were finished at half-time?
There you go, and that's very unstorm-like. I mean, how many years have we been watching them? They like a boa constrictor down here in Melbourne. So that game was in Sydney, but they aren't playing like they used to. So there's some concerns with the Storm.
52 tackle breaks. Craig Bellamy wouldn't be happy with that.
No, not at all. Yeah, he's mellowed a bit. He's obviously got some health issues we've talked about, but I think they want to get back on track this week against the Roosters, or there's some issues there at the Storm.
Our favourite hyphen from the Warriors, Paul, scored another double. Wateen Zelezniak, he's now scored 14 tries for the season, third on the list. St George had more possession. You wouldn't know it from the final scoreline.
No, you wouldn't, and the Warriors about to miss out on a hyphenated player with Tabasa Sheck going down injured. That'll be his last appearance in the NRL because he's off to the UK. So a big loss to the NRL. But the Warriors rolled through the Dragons as they were expected to. But, a big loss in Tabasa Sheck to the game.
Schooner sent me a text before the game on Saturday, Paul, that the Sea Eagles, I could rely on them for the Professor's parlay. They were one of the anchor legs in the NRL and certainly got up 12-10, although I thought they would have won by more playing at Brookvale.
Yeah, very low score. That's almost like a nil-all draw, the way that this season's gone. Winning in penalties, if I can, the way that the scoring's gone this year. So I don't know whether it shows the Titans aren't as bad as we thought, or whether maybe the Sheen is wearing off a touch on Fosball. But we will see this week when they've got a big challenge.
Cowboys will have to take the pink pen away from them, Paul, and the coach looks to be under no trouble whatsoever, given that he was one of the coaches we thought might get the sack this season. They accounted for your Rabbitohs, Paul. Alex Johnson extended his record by one, but things aren't going well for the Rabbitohs after the last few games.
No, it was a tough loss. I thought they were brave in the game, but they were just too good, the Cowboys. I mean, they've got some superstars there. Drinkwater at the backs playing as well as any fullback, and Tom Chester is an absolute superstar in the making. And Reid Marnie, your old dog, is playing as well as ever. So they're a tough proposition there. I don't think it's too bad for the Rabbitohs, that loss. They were just too good on the day.
Yeah, I had a look at the stats, Paul. They would be the closest set of stats between two teams that I've seen in a long time. But given the Rabbitohs went down by 12, obviously Cowboys converted their possession to getting better field position.
You know, a big shout out to Matt Duffy, who he hasn't run that much since he escaped that barbecue in COVID. 329 metres from Duffy, if you don't mind. So that's not a bad player to have on the bench. I often measure a team by how good their reserves are. And if someone like a Matt Duffy is struggling to get a game and comes in as a reserve, then I think the Rabbitohs looking good. I've said it all year, we're looking good for next year with Payne Haas arrival, but I'm enjoying this year what I'm seeing, and that wasn't a bad loss at all.
Well, Paul, what's better than one State of Origin game in a week? Two State of Origin games in a week, and the first one's tomorrow night, the men, game one at Accor Stadium in Sydney. The playmakers, Ethan Strange and Nathan Cleary versus Cam Munster and Sam Walker. Queensland team would like Tommy Dearden playing there instead.
Oh, they would, and it's interesting about whether or not they want Mitchell Moses there. He is a great player for New South Wales. We've seen it so many times. His kicking is so important, but he's out injured. This Ethan Strange, though, he could be absolutely anything. He's been very impressive this year. He's a prodigy and a big body, runs a bit like a Laurie Daly type. So we'll see how he goes, but he will be running at Sam Walker all night. Now, Sam Walker's actually been pretty good defensively this year, but we'll see how he stands up under the weight of Origin expectations. I am thinking the Blues, but with the Jairo sentiment as well, and losing Mitchell Moses, I think it's going to be a very close game. Everywhere you look, it's going to be a great clash. I mean, Tedesco up against Ponga, I mean, that's just going to be a great clash in itself. So Victor Radley making his debut for New South Wales, he's absolutely lunatic. So anything could happen tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, you mentioned debutant, Paul. New South Wales have got 6. Is that too many for a State of Origin match?
Oh no, I think with natural retirements and picking on form, I don't mind it. There was a period there where we used to chop and change every year, but these aren't rush changes or forced apart from Ethan Strange. It's a well thought out team, and there's a good brains trust behind New South Wales. And I might regret these words, but Queensland isn't as dominant as they once were.
Selwyn Cobbo at the number 2, Paul, for the Maroons. His career's revitalised since he arrived at the Dolphins.
Oh, it has, and he won't let the team down. I think it's going to be a great game looking at him. I mean, he's there. He's got Toya inside him. He's got Ponga setting him up. Munster playing well. I mean, Jojo Fafita's interesting addition as well. So there's debutants as well for Queensland. I just think looking at that Blues team, which is always dangerous on paper, I think they might just be a touch too strong.
Any thoughts as to a final score?
16-12. I actually think it'll be quite defensive early on. I think that they'll be both pretty pumped to defend well. So there's a lot of attacking flair there, but I just think it'll be a bit of a grind, positional game, kicking vital. But I just think New South Wales will edge them 16-12.
All right, well, if you haven't got your fill of State of Origin tomorrow night, then Thursday night, the women back up, Game 3 at the Gold Coast. Now, not necessarily a dead rubber, Paul, because New South Wales would be aiming to go 3-0 for the first time in Women's State of Origin.
They would be, and they were unbeaten at Suncorp Stadium, and they stayed that way in Game 2. I did predict Queensland. I thought might tie the series up, but there was a tackle from Jessie Southwell, who was player of the match, that will go down in folklore. It was up there with Scotty Sattler's effort in that grand final for the Panthers all those years ago. So it was a great game, and the fans were treated to a fantastic game. But I have been explaining to people we don't do dead rubbers in rugby league, so there'll be plenty on the line. As you say, it'd be good to get the 3-0 for the first time.
Queensland fullback Tamika Upton out with injury, taking her role debutante, and what a name, Destiny Mino Sinapati.
Yes, so that's big shoes to fill, one of the best in the game, so it'll be interesting to see. I just think New South Wales will close that one out, though.
Thoughts on a final score?
26-20.
Very high scoring, that one.
Yeah, I think there'll be plenty scored in the last game. They'll throw it around the girls.
All right, let's preview round 13, Paul. First match is on Friday night at 8 p.m. at Shark Park. I would have expected to be the match of the round. The Sharks in 9th position taking on Schooners Sea Eagles, who are a very surprising 4th in my opinion.
Yeah, I was looking at it before, but I just read that Nico Hines is out, so that's caused me to change my tip to Manly. I would have tipped the Sharks at home, but Niwai Puru is in. I haven't heard too much about him, so I'm going to go with Manly to win this one in a close one on a nice Friday night to kick the other weekend off.
All right, well, we've got Super Saturday. The first match, the Knights 5th and doing very well this season against a team we've already put the red line through, the Eels 14th. They're being played at Newcastle. The Knights win this one as far as I'm concerned, Paul.
Oh, they should. Even if Ponga and Saifidi don't back up, there's enough talent in that team. Mitchell Moses out is pretty devastating for the Eels. He's their general. So I've got the Eels winning that comfortably.
The middle game on Saturday, Paul, my Bulldogs travel to Parramatta to play the West Tigers, 10th versus 13th. Can the Bulldogs continue with their resurrection of their season?
Only if Matt Burton can return. I'm actually going to tip them, but that is contingent on Burton returning. What concerns me, and it should concern you and all Dogs fans, is the Tigers are getting back Jareen Buller at the back, their general, Coruscant at 9, and also Macassini back in the centres. So I'd be a bit concerned, but I really was impressed by that Dogs form. I think with the Sheen coming off the Tigers of late, I'm tipping the Dogs as if Burton plays.
And the nightcap on Saturday night, Paul, the Storm 15th playing the Roosters 3rd. Now, normally this would be a ding-dong battle and you'd say, well, it's going to be very close, but Storm might come out on top at Amy Park. But given the Roosters' form, they'd be very hard to go past.
Yeah, but given they've got 6 players in Origin, I'll be looking to see if they're rested. We've got Tedesco, Victor Radley, Reece Robson, Rabbitohs, Lindsay Collins and Sam Walker, that's literally half the team, almost literally half the team. If they're rested, or the majority of those, I'm going to stick with my Storm tip, who I'm tipping as of now. I just think this is going to be a make or break game for the Storm. I have to check the records, but I think the Storm normally have the Roosters measure here in Melbourne.
Sunday, Paul, the Broncos 11th, playing the Dragons 17th. Now, normally, I'd suggest the Broncos might not do all that well, but as you pointed out, they've only got 2 Origin players playing tomorrow night, so I can't see the Dragons winning at Suncorp, can you?
And I can't. And with a guy called Payne Haasback, I think that the Broncos are absolute specials. As I said, they've only got 2 players for Origin this year, Carrigan and our man Shibasaki. Even if they don't return, they'll be too strong at home, the Broncos, too much at stake. Reece Walsh, very angry at the back. I would suggest he's a big chance at a hat-trick on Sunday.
And the late game, the 12th place disappointing Raiders, bearing in mind they finished on top of the tree last season, playing the Cowboys 6th, who are in pretty good form. One thing we know for sure, Paul, it's going to be cold at 4:05 p.m. in Canberra.
And it might be about 4.05 degrees as well if there's a warm breeze, because it'll be pack the thermals action for the fans. I am tipping the Roosters again. Sorry for the caveat, but that's only if Ethan Strange and Hudson Young are back. If they're not, I'd be probably leaning towards the Cowboys, but I think the Raiders season rests on this match, and I'm tipping the Raiders.
And the final game for Sunday, Paul, the late game at 6:15, the top-placed Panthers against the second-placed Warriors. I said earlier that the earlier game, the Sharks and Sea Eagles, might be the match of the round. Only query on this one being the match of the round is so many Panthers playing in State of Origin, which might affect it.
Yeah, and they've been named on the reserves. That's To'o, Casey McLean, Isaiah Yeo and Nathan Cleary. That's easily 3, if not 4, of the best 5 players in the Panthers. Cleary's not one for mind games, so I actually think they might be resting them. But we will see what happens. I'm tipping the Warriors to win that on that basis. So a lot of caveats this week. And let me lead into saying, with all this Origin action, I just cannot wave the Big D guarantee around. Unlike your waving of the Harry Potter wand, the red pen.
All right, Paul.
So no giraffe here to see this week. So yeah.
I liked you talking about waving the Big D guarantee around, though.
It's not something I do lightly. So
exactly right.
I take pride in my giraffe guarantee. So now I can't this week. There's no point tipping the Knights or the Broncos. That's like tipping tomorrow being Wednesday, Professor. There's no real point doing that.
All right, Paul, that's all for the Scrum Feed from this week. We'll do it all again next week.
Good stuff. Looking forward to a big week of footy.